The following video contains some offensive language for the purpose of parody. Qatarian Lightning does not condone the use of slurs in normal interactions. Language is left unaltered in subtitles so that the hearing impaired can follow along naturally. Sir,
there is an urgent matter that needs attending to. This is General Konstantin, leader of our brigade, and Major Abrasha, the leader of our battalion.
Yes, sirs.
You are being assigned as the personal protection of Vladimir Putin for his upcoming meeting with global thought leaders.
Me, sir? But I've only been back in service for a few days.
Yes, and that makes you the most experienced available soldier in all of Moscow. At least, the most sober one currently.
But where are the Chads in the Guards and the VDV?
Massive overture.
We don't have such luxurious in times of special military operation, soldier.
So go.
Yes, sirs. Wonder who the global thought leaders are. Oh well, guess I'll find out soon enough.
Ding dong. Ding dong. Ding dong. Ding dong.
Get on the dance floor. Uh-huh.
Oh yeah!
Oh shit!
Yo, you know how we roll.
Yo, Selector, take that. You don't know.
Welcome to the rice fields, motherfucker!
Geniandos dovsishiku pukukla namen vreme esto, stelogla hamalana, lelo lendile Anglin in stelest karatak.
Ooh, work it, boy. Oh, yeah. Oh, baby. Oh, baby.
Who are you?
Name's Woyak, Mr. President. I've been assigned by my general to guard this meeting. Is there a problem, sir?
I was expecting something rather different.
Sorry, sir. I understand that we're kind of short-handed at the moment.
I don't recall having addressed the distribution of those figures.
I didn't mean it like that, sir.
I suppose I was not expecting the Finnish Antifa.
Nobody expects the Finnish Antifa.
So you did get my invitation.
Our RVSP must have gotten lost in the mail.
Well, let us begin. Men.
Can we give a round of applause for Russia? Yes. Absolutely.
May I say that it is a honor to have such a dedicated, united, and harmonious group gathered together to fight the forces of satanic evil.
I hate the Antichrist. How about you, my brother in Christ? Do you also love the Donald?
I hate the Donald. Trump is a puppet of the Zionist regime.
Oh, the nerve.
Go jump off a cliff, Jew.
Hey, watch your language when you're talking about. Never mind.
Listen, buddy.
I'm not your buddy. I'm not your buddy.
Okay, pal.
Not your pal either. I'm your enemy. I'm on the other side of a burnt bridge, fella.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Well, I'm sure you're a very nice African gentleman. Africans are such wonderful people, you know. My organization employs many Africans, all of whom give us stellar marks on our appreciation for diverse perspectives. As they say in the hood, banging bitches and having a good time. That's us in Code Pink. And I'm proud of.
What are you babbling on about, woman? I am Mahuzi Kainerugaba, the leader of the army of Uganda, the son of the president himself.
Now you see, that's what I like to hear. A man who has worked his way up in the world. That can't have been easy, starting in the ghettos of a white supremacist society. Why, young African men like yourself should be commended for their courage. You have faced a society and world order that is inequitably biased against your continued success, and—
Don't patronize me.
I apologize. Know that it wasn't my intention to offend you. Sometimes these cross-cultural discussions can be affected by the American English language, which is vastly too steeped in white supremacist notions of—
Just shut up.
To begin, gentlemen, you have been called here today for one simple purpose. You all know the nature of the evil that we fight.
This is a declaration of war of the United States against the European people. And the EU, the European government, and the German government for that matter, they're all these minions, these little puppets of the Americans.
Russia is an Orthodox Christian country with traditional social values. And for that reason, it must be destroyed, no matter what the cost to us. So this is not a conventional war. This is a jihad. Jamie Raskin said that out loud, but many in Washington agree with him. In both parties, they would like to see World War trans immediately.
Perfect timing. Meanwhile, there still seems to be a lot of confusion about whether this represents a world war or merely woke war one. I feel like I'm watching George Floyd Day again, only the country version. We all stand around knowing this is wrong but helpless to stop it. What can we do? Hashtag Ukraine is George Floyd.
Which, look, can we all agree here? Like, this is, well, I don't want to put words in your mouth. As far as I'm concerned, these are two bags of crap fighting each other. Ukraine is not a bastion of freedom and democracy, and certainly Russia, I'm no fan of Putin. Not a fan of either. Is that a fair?
The Slavic Civil War.
Yeah.
I mean, Russia actually started in Ukraine over 1,000 years ago.
Yep.
It's a whole story about how that happened. Then the Muslims took over for a while. All that was left was the Moscow tribe. They came and kicked the Muslims out after 100 years.
Yeah.
Became the big heroes. That's the founding of Russia is in Ukraine. So, yes, you've had the Catholic and the Orthodox side for since then, since the liberation, battling for 800 years or so over who's going to run it. And it is an ancient, basically Crips versus Bloods.
Right, exactly.
So they're the same genetics,
yes,
but they're fighting over color.
And you can say that Putin and his offensive maneuver and him attacking is horrible, but you can also identify that, there's a certain percentage of Ukrainians who identify as ethnic Russians. In other words, there are some complications here that you may not understand as Americans, and I just don't believe that we should be sending over bodies or money. It's not our war.
Ukraine is being used by the U.S. as a springboard towards Taiwan being used by the US against China.
Да, and you also know what Russia means to the world, and we must engage in this special military operation.
This isn't a declaration of war against Russia. This is the American declaration of war against Europe. They want Europe to suffer.
Well, I think
Nick is not as smart as I am.
Nick is not as experienced as I am.
Well, I think the rhetoric towards Russia since the beginning of this conflict, nothing more than Russophobia. And they talk about Russia, the regime and the people in a way which is just plain prejudiced and bigoted. They talk about Russians as though they're uncivilized, treat them like they're not human beings. And it's a little bit ironic because the opposition to the special military operation in Ukraine is supposedly about so-called human rights, about democracy and dignity and all these things. But when you look at the rhetoric coming from NATO, the European Union, and the United States, you would actually think quite the opposite, or you would think at least that maybe none of those things apply to the Russians themselves.
So here's the truth. Ukraine is hardly a bastion of democracy. Again, all references are publicly available.
They've outlawed all political parties, including ones that are pro-war.
Yep.
They have taken over all the TV, all the radio, all the media, and unified it. If anyone even criticizes the war, they're locked up in camps. And Zelensky's now banned the oldest church in Ukraine, the Orthodox Church.
There's a little bit more to that, though, the Orthodox Church and their ties with Putin, right?
Well, certainly, it's all the same, yeah.
Yeah, but they also, by the way, with all of that said, Ukraine is rated as the second most corrupt country in all of Europe. Russia's number one. That's why I say, let's break off the pool cue and let's have tryouts. I don't care at this point. And by the way, the rankings are determined by public sector corruption. So that includes bribery, unlawful, unethical practices. If you're talking about money laundering, this is something that is well known. It has been documented by even the international governing agencies who really, really want you to go to war for Ukraine. So saving Ukraine is saving democracy? Not exactly.
So now we are arriving at a point where what's showing, in fact, by the neocons and neoliberal cons is panic. Because everything that they thought that they could accomplish in the first 2 or 3 months after the beginning of the special military operation, which was to crush the Russian economy to bits, didn't happen. And there is no plan B. They only have that plan. You know, they threw everything against Russia, and it didn't work. 85 to 87% of the planet not only is not sanctioning Russia, but if they are neutral, they're not criticizing Russia, and some of them are deeply against it. So we have this 12% of the collective West, which they call themselves the golden billion, completely isolated in relation to the absolute majority of the planet. So everything that they tried didn't work. So now they are arriving at a crossroads.
Why my own government is sabotaging negotiations. I want to know, when they were close to getting a peace accord back in March, why my government came in and said no. I want to know, when just recently the Chinese came out with a peace plan, why did our government say absolutely ridiculous? And I want to know, in front of the White House, why Biden can't pick up the goddamn phone and talk to Putin.
China is my favorite country in the whole wide world. We must not allow it to be attacked by the Western imperialist colonial oppressors under any circumstance. Yes, I love China. Why, each and every night I dream of being dominated by Xi Jinping. You all have no idea how hard it is to get wet at age 70.
Well, I'm sure they're better than Teddy's dreams of the same.
Vox Day.
For my part, I wish death on the Western imperialist bastards. Uganda is a land free from imperialist obsessions, a land which has never once spat upon any of its neighbors, unjustifiably. And this is what the global South must become. Together with the aid of the glorious and ever-fair Chinese, we will raise our countries into greatness. And it all starts here, with your nation's demonstrated supremacy over this Western puppet state called Ukraine.
So I don't give a fragment of a quantum of a damn what anybody thinks. So fuck you all, and fuck Nick Fuentes.
Western countries have been insisting for centuries
that they bear freedom and democracy for other nations. Everything is exactly the opposite. Instead of democracy, suppression and exploitation. Instead of freedom, enslavement and violence. The whole unipolar world order is inherently anti-democratic and not free. It is deceiving and hypocritical throughout. Now, I want you to particularly notice where he said, everything is exactly the opposite. That's not accidental. He's talking about inversion there. And we know that he's talking about it intentionally because of something we'll get to in a minute. The current neo-colonial model is ultimately doomed, this much is obvious. But I repeat that its real masters will cling to it to the end. They simply have nothing to offer the world except to maintain the same system of plundering and racketeering. So again, he's making it very clear that he knows that the politicians that he is dealing with, the Macrons, the Trusses, the Bidens, are not the people who are actually in charge. He's openly discussing this. They do not give a damn about the natural right of billions of people, the majority of humanity, to freedom and justice, the right to determine their own future. They have already moved on to the radical denial of moral, religious, and family values. And of course, we see that all over. We see the construction of an inverted set of values and an inverted set of vices. Racism is not a sin. Transphobia is not a sin. Homophobia is not a sin. But to the inverted New World Order, it is. Let me repeat that the dictatorship of the Western elites targets all societies, including the citizens of the Western countries themselves. This is a challenge to all. This complete renunciation of what it means to be human, the overthrow of faith and traditional values, and the suppression of freedom are coming to resemble a religion in reverse, pure Satanism. He's calling it out directly in a way that very, very few so-called Christian politicians, so-called conservative Republicans have ever dared to do. Exposing false messiahs, Jesus Christ said in the Sermon on the Mount, "By their fruits ye shall know them." These poisonous fruits are already obvious to people, and not only in our country, but also in all countries, including many people in the West itself. Those are powerful, powerful words. He's not calling anybody out as fakes. He's calling them out as wicked, evil Satanists, which they are. I mean, I understand that it sounds, it sounds impossible to believe that anybody is worshiping the devil in 2022, right? And, that's probably a simplistic way of looking at it. Some of them, worship Moloch. Some of them worship, other demons, devils, whatever. But the fact is, they all worship evil spiritual beings. They all serve evil spiritual beings that are just as real as you or me, God and Jesus Christ. And this is why they hate and fear Putin. This is why it's necessary for them to engage in histrionic rhetoric.
What is the world without Russia? Without it, nothing is left of value. And us all must play their part. You have all been called here today for one purpose, the part that you play in this great game of ours.
Revolution?
Revolution.
Education?
Confusion. The greatest weapon of war we can wield against the West is confusion. Left, right, center, up, down, confusion is the name of the game. Pure hybrid warfare, as envisioned by Russia's mighty general Valery Gerasimov. Now, even though we are undeniably winning the special military operation.
First of all, it seems unlikely to me that the Russians will allow themselves to be defeated in Kherson. After all, as you say, it was so vital for the dam. It was the first place they gave out the Russian passports. Their reinforcements are arriving, presumably from the mobilization that they have done. And although the numbers you gave us earlier are big, and of course they're very, very serious, particularly the casualty numbers. But, you know, if they've got 30,000 soldiers there, well, if Russia can't field 40 or 50,000 soldiers to hold on to Kherson, questions would have to be asked about them. So my instinct tells me that Russia will turn Kherson into a Stalingrad.
Well, what happens in modern warfare, what we're seeing is that, there comes a tipping point moment where, and insofar as an offensive is concerned, there are so many soldiers being thrown at you that sometimes it's just inevitable that you have to pull back. And it's not that you're weaker or that you're quote unquote losing. It's just a smarter thing. For various specific operational reasons and tactical reasons, you sometimes want to prevent any small salient of your own men being captured. Cut off from the main grouping. So it's reasonable and rational to pull back, and basically it's the Muhammad Ali rope-a-dope strategy of just leaning back on the ropes and letting the other guy tire himself out until he's absolutely exhausted, and then you just wake up and knock him out. And even if they gain ground, which is a doubtful thing, but even if they do, swarming, sort of like zombies in one of those apocalyptic movies, well, they will eventually exhaust themselves. They will run out of men. And about 100,000 Ukraine soldiers are dead. And likely that same number, if not more, of wounded, incapacitated. So the original army is gone. And so, this is, I believe, and other people seem to agree with me, that this is basically the Kiev regime's last stand. This is like the Battle of the Bulge in World War II, where during the winter and into into January of 1945, the Germans threw everything they had at the Allies on the West, and they exhausted themselves. And after that, they had no more army left, no more gas in the tank. And it was only 3-4 months later that the Allies were in Berlin. And it seems to me that this Battle of Kherson is that final bulge in this war. And frankly, they are throwing away the last of what they've got. And the worst part, the thing that really drives me crazy, that I find is just immoral and despicable, and I'm sorry for using such language, but it's the truth. It's immoral and despicable that they are throwing away the lives of these men just to score a political victory so that it helps Joe Biden and the Democratic establishment get a few more votes in the midterm election. It's all politics. It's not because they think that they can actually win, because they know that they can't. It's over. It's been over for weeks now. And all of these men who are dying for nothing, it's that. They are dying for nothing.
We unfortunately had to withdraw from Kherson.
To say to us, stop, no, you just, the unwillingness to give up, to just keep on going. Yeah, I think that it's remarkable.
This is embarrassing for you. This is an embarrassing monologue for you.
Yeah.
You want to, how about I'll make you a deal. We'll rebuild this bridge right now. Suck my dick and we can rebuild this bridge. How about that, fella?
But there is no need to jet into the mindset of copying on that account.
Oh yeah, that is the good stuff.
Speaking of Kherson, listen to the words of the Nazi leader.
світі, який під'їжджає в зону бойових дій безпосередньо, і зараз за вашою спиною там річка Дніпро, і вони дуже близько. Ви могли це звернення сказати з Офісу Президента, але ви тут. Чому для вас це так важливо? І ми пишаємося цим.
Дуже дякую. Дмитро, чесно? А як же Херсонський армії? Ні, якщо чесно, ну, важливо бути тут, важливо, всі ж ризикують. Військові ризикують, щоденно, журналісти ризикують. Ви ж також тут, ми говоримо про Херсон. Мені здається, треба говорити тут і підтримувати херсонців, підтримувати людей, щоб вони відчували не просто, чи не просто неправильно сказати, не тільки ми про це говоримо, не тільки ми обіцяємо, а ми реально повертаємось, реально піднімаємо наш прапор. Ну і хочеться, я скажу вам, ще по-людськи дуже хочеться якось такої емоції, енергії від людей отримати. Це також важливо, мотивує.
Так ви вже пробували камінчині?
Ні.
Watermelon. What is watermelon? Where are the words that will shake the earth, the ideology that will call down the stars? Нет, always watermelon. That is it. Watermelon, watermelon, watermelon.
Watermelon is the most evil fruit. 'Twas the devil's temptation.
Exactly, Mr. Medvedev.
It is, it is.
Regardless, you were saying our president.
Let us not focus on the one victory the Nazis have managed to attain, otherwise we at lost context. Europa is freezing and currently in the process of cannibalizing itself. The Anglo-Saxon devils, for example, have reverted into savage stone age tribes engaged in perpetual civil war.
Exactly, the South is the most civilized part of the world.
All animal life in Britain has already been exterminated by their savagery, down to the last hamster and goldfish.
Woo!
Heck yeah!
In the UK, the government projected that more than 10,000 Britons will freeze to death, will die this winter for lack of heating fuel. Freeze to death. In England. That is not supposed to happen in a first world country. So Europe is moving backward at high speed, and it's not clear where it'll end.
Yes, Europa is little bit tier. Without being able to parasite off of our resources, they have been reduced to pre-industrial civilization. All industry has ceased functioning and starvation is rampant.
Good morning. How's Europe doing? Not so well today, I see.
Diesel fuel is not just low in this country, it's low in every Western nation that has aligned itself with Ukraine. All these nations preparing for World War Trans are running out of diesel fuel.
What remains of their resources has been committed to their entire military complex, currently posing as the Ukrainian army. And now, abandoned by their American allies, they are nothing. Which leaves only America as the true global threat. A brief review of the global tactical situation, as we face down against our last foe, the Americans. As you can see, they have no real allies, only US versus them. Everyone else is but a puppet state controlled by the CIA Nazis, a temporary ally that they will toss to the wind at the first opportunity. Submitting that, as you know from our millennia-long history, is submitting that would never come to the mint of glorious Russia. Victory in this conflict will ensure that we become the undisputed global exporter of food to the Middle East and North Africa, ensuring our victory in that area. Central Asia will similarly be secured as glorious members of the CIS, free forever from grasping Western hands. Similarly, our strength will set forth a glorious banner to Asia and Africa, setting a new standard for the future world order. And now we turn our gaze to the pivot point of South America.
We are looking at processes, very complex processes. They are now intertwined. We have some major players, national players, with different interests but they're trying to find mutual interest and interest that for all of them, among the BRICS, among the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, among the Eurasian Economic Union, among OPEC, among all these organizations, in trying to set up a better system for at least most of the global population. And most of the the poor parts of the global south will benefit from it. In the case of Africa is absolutely clear. For the US, the only thing that matters in Africa is to set up AFRICOM, the African Command. So this is a military mindset. For the Chinese to go there, get 35 heads of state, say, what do you need? You need a hydroelectric plant, you need high-speed rail. Okay, you sell our stuff to us and we build stuff for you. The famous Chinese win-win. So all the major global south players are getting into a sort of cosmic alignment. And this from the point of view of a unipolar hegemon. It's wow.
Sir. Anyways, at our side we have the glorious nation of Venezuela under the beloved leader, President Madera. It is a place where the people are prosperous and the citizens of neighboring countries are literally clambering at the borders. Did you know that in the previous years there have been millions of people who have illegally crossed that border just for a chance at a better life?
Who wouldn't want to live in our people's utopia?
Exactly, the South is the most civilized part of the world.
To the north are our long-standing friends in Cuba, still holding strong against the capitalist world, and our friends in Nicaragua, a foothold on the doorstep of America. Then, on the opposite side of the continent we have Argentina, glorious Argentina, home of happy enlightened people. Yet has even gone so far in its friendship with the true humans of the world that they have applied to glorious BRICS. Its position is only marred by the existence of the Chilean devils next door. But not to worry, we'll take care of that soon enough. Just towards the east, we have Argentina's best friend, Brazil. Now that Lula has swept in from the jungles, it actually interferes well with Argentina and Venezuela. Then there is the glories of Peru. Inheritors of the enlightened Inca bloodline, they've become our staunch allies and friends. Indeed, they've been. Yes. Alright. Actually, strike Peru from that list. Peru is a worthless American puppet populated by degenerate snakes. Now then, apart from the aforementioned subhuman Peruvian snakes, our enemies in South America are centered in Colombia. Colombians are nothing but an oppressed population under complete American control. They are held in structures akin to the Matrix movie where they serve as incubators for drugs exported to the American upper classes. It is an ensure land controlled and by the rich decadent West. Our supported rebel groups have tried to overthrow this situation for decades, growing instead appropriate medicinal herbs that bring high commercial value on the market.
Criminals are based, dude.
Exactly. But the Americans could not have that. Oh no, always with the endless destruction. Even in our own land of sacred Russia there has been an unusual uptick in traffic accidents for no discernible reason. And what is that engine of destruction? Well, our intelligence have uncovered this shocking image of Satan directly giving orders to Zelenskyy, Lord of the Nazi Horde.
Wait, but I'm an atheist.
Yes, just take a look at the state of America. which is parat around in the streets, burning Christians and Muslims as satanic offerings. The Capitol buildings have been entirely replaced with demonic shrines that are forever stained with blood.
It's all true. It's all true. I saw it all while I was in there.
And against this force of evil stands sacred Russia with the true human peoples of the world. It is our destiny, told in the prophecies of all religions and demanded by the human spirit itself, to defeat the West. And now, let us talk about our plans to deal with this system. First, Mr. Dogan, would you inform our guests about the meaning of hegemonies?
Here, via one of my social media posts, you see a brief breakdown of the meaning of these words. A hegemony, or monopolar empire, such as the American Anglo-Saxon controlled world, is one where only a single power rules and all others are subordinated to it. What an insult. What evil. Instead of a monopolar world, there must be a multipolar world. And here is the definition of the multipolar world.
Meaning more nations?
No, nations are a filthy concept.
Abhorrent.
We must have empires, civilizations that shepherd all the cultures underneath them. This is the only way to destroy the globalist hegemon. See a world with empires everywhere, every country under the leadership of it as a natural head. A glorious vision, my brethren.
Indeed. Now go back to your ultra buddies, Mr. Dogan. They don't run the country, Aida.
May I make one more statement, my president?
If you must.
Hot take, we should restart the Gulag system so that we can pogrom all the Westerners. Oh. So edici at age 60.
That will be all, Mr. Dogan.
By my book.
Moving on, Mr. Shoigu, what do you have for me?
I've seen fit to have numerous top-tier pieces of modern hardware developed that would put us on an equal footing with our opponents. Though, that would of course require us to have actually bothered to have a production run of more than several dozen units, thus rendering them unfit for battlefield deployment before moving on to the next weapon series.
That is our way, after all.
However, I have several special treats prepared for today. This is Sarbot 5000, a super weapon designed to defend Russia, perpetuating truth, justice, and Putin's way.
As nice as that sounds. To mechanical. What else do you have?
Here we have the plans for the Kremlin battleship. We add hundreds of pieces of artillery to the Kremlin, armor it with 2 solid feet of steel, then roll it at the enemy as an unstoppable super fortress.
But that would involve putting me personally in danger, and it never go anywhere near the front lines. I'll pass.
Well, there is one final weapon that I've got planned, but it is rather theoretical. Here you see the world's first battering ram tipped with a nuclear warhead.
What is it called?
Putin's pleasure weapon.
Ah, I like that. While we are waiting for the deployment of the Wonderweapon, to counter the insanity of this endless imperialism, we have seen fit to establish true People's Republics, placed under our official land. And do you all know how we're going to defeat the Nazis in the Ukraine?
Revolution?
Revolution. Whatever gets me palaces back.
The answer is by breaking the collective will of the West, economically, politically, socially. Without terrorist nothing. Then we'll put the true valid president of the Ukraine, Viktor Yanukovych, back in power. From which time onwards he and the new Russians will be our countrymen once more. And naturally we will be devoting most of the wealth in the country to our Donbass enrichment plans.
Oil boost tier status. Will re-educate their children into being good Russians again.
Oh.
And will take a sledgehammer to every single piece of the Ukrainian identity.
We're breaking the conditioning! We're coming for you, globalist! Coming for you! Coming for you!
Indeed we will, Mr. Medvedev.
Angeles, I see Angeles.
If that's what you want, sounds great to me.
Now, in a completely separate issue, I'd like to talk about each of your contributions to the efforts of the special military operation. First, let us show a dramatic confrontation of Mr. Phillips with the evil Ukrainian ambassador to Austria.
И мы выбираем те людей, которые на самом деле заслуживают больше внимания на их плохие поступки. Я уже на самом деле начал Вен, Олександр Scherba, украинский посол. Так что отсюда, Нюрнберг, поехали. Это здесь. Я буду представить человека на самом деле. Он является типа того посол, если мы понимаем его как бы должность. Но на самом деле это человек действительно, ты знаешь, это подонок. Это действительно, это не человек, ты понимаешь? Это способник терроризм. Это действительно способник терроризм.
I'm asking you a question.
Why do you think I'm an enemy? I'm the most honest journalist in the world.
You are not a journalist at all.
I'm the best journalist in the world.
Small
You don't know what journalism is. You don't even know.
Hate between Ukraine and Russia.
Ты майданут. Ты майданут. Ты понимаешь, что это такое? У меня интересный вопрос для тебя.
You are an enemy.
У меня интересный вопрос.
Enemy of Ukraine, enemy of truth, enemy of everything human. You are a small human being.
Это из-за того, я за правда, что ты являешься, что ты думаешь, что я враг. I'm the most honest journalist in the world.
Small human being.
You are the supporter of terrorism.
On hate.
You are the supporter of a genocide.
Without hate, you would be nothing. Without the hate between Ukraine and Russia,
I'm the most honest
you
journalist.
would be nothing. This is one thing I wanted to tell you.
The most honest journalist.
Without hate, you would be
Can you
nothing.
tell me? No, I'm only
and
for
you
love
are nothing.
and truth.
You don't know what love is. You are a grown man who travels Ukraine and Russia, now Russia, and pays women to have sex with him.
What are you even
You
talking
are
about?
a sex tourist. I read your blogs. You are a despicable human being.
Sasha,
without this war, you
what
would be
are you
nothing.
even talking about?
And you are nothing. And
You're
please
speaking a load
look
of
up
Are you
his
you're a
blog,
clown.
the blog of this guy,
Okay.
who is
So tell me.
nothing.
So tell me then,
So
what's wrong?
you are not
I've been honest about
answering my
everything I've
question,
done.
right?
What is wrong about that,
Very
Alexander?
good.
What's wrong
I'm
about what I've
here
done?
not to make a scene.
Я
to
самый
make a
честный
make-
журналист в мире, на
Yes,
самом
you are
деле.
самый честный.
Иди сюда, дебил Гандон. Иди сюда. Ответь на меня. Вообще, сука. Ответь на меня. Почему ты поддерживаешь геноцид на Донбасс? Скажи мне твой нацист. Tell me about the Azov Battalion. Who are the Azov Battalion?
Azov Battalion, these were one of the people who took to the war when your country, Russia, attacked mine.
My country is Great Britain.
Your country.
And I'm the
is-
most honest journalist in the world.
You are
so you can
nothing.
say whatever you like
You are
about past,
nobody.
about prostitutes. I know that I'm for the
You
truth.
are
I'm the most honest
you are
journalist.
A small guy.
Tell me
who
about the
feeds
Azov.
on hate.
Tell me about the Azov
Who
Battalion.
feeds on hate.
Tell me about the Azov Battalion.
Azov
Your
Bat-
country supports Nazis.
What exactly about Azov
They
Battalion?
are Nazis. They
Who
fight
are
for
Nazis?
Ukraine, the Azov Battalion.
Azov Battalion. Why do
Your
you think?
country is a Nazi country. Do
Very
you
good.
understand that? Are the Azov Battalion Nazis?
I wasn't afraid of you,
Are
right?
they Nazis?
I wasn't afraid of you.
Are they Nazis?
And now
Answer
you
the question.
can go
Answer
to
the
your
question.
country, which
Azov
is Russia.
Battalion.
Okay?
Tell me about the Azov Battalion.
I'm ambassador. Please
Tell
don't,
me about the
don't
Azov
touch me.
Battalion.
Don't
Ты
assault me.
подонок, ты гандон. Ты не посол, ты вообще гандон. А ты знаешь, что такое? Ты тоже трус. Если ты на приехал, ты будешь просто приятель.
Ты просто...
Ты даже не человек.
You stood...
Tell me about the Azov Battalion.
You stood 2 minutes.
Tell me about
You
the
stood
Azov
2
Battalion.
minutes and
Tell
I
me
was
about
there.
genocide in Donbass
I
that you
won't
support.
speak to you with
Tell me
this
about
tone
genocide.
because you are a small...
Ты be стыдно. Ты понимаешь
You are
это?
a small
Ты
human being.
Ты майданут, дебил. Где твой совесть? Tell me about the Azov Battalion. Tell me about Nazis. Tell me about the Nazis in Ukraine. Да, бегет, сволочь.
Я пришел к тебе.
Отлично, отлично.
Испугался.
Tell me about Степан Бандера.
Несчастный,
Tell me about
глупый, маленький человек.
Бандера. Нет, я самый честный, самый храбрый. Это те, которые сбежат. Ты будешь сбежать, потому что я никуда. Я здесь. А ты понимаешь?
Приезжай к нам в Украину.
Подонок.
Приезжай в Украину.
Способник терроризм. Ты способник терроризм. Ты понимаешь это?
Русский язык. Ты уже сколько лет живешь? Выучи русский язык.
Иди, сука. Иди в стыд. Ты это самое не посол. Ты майданут гандон. Ты трус. И ты сволочь. А сейчас иди в стыд. Ты слышишь меня, Саша? Ты дебил, трусливый майданут. Способник терроризм. Позор! Позор! Иди сюда, я тебя жду. Почему ты сбежать? Почему сбежать? Don't run away, Alexander! Don't run away! You're a supporter of terrorism and Nazism! Гриша, список уже начинаемся. Вот так.
Ridiculous, I know. Fake countries should not have ambassadors. Well done, Mr. Phillips. Can everyone give him a hand? Now, our friend Gonzalo Lira is a superb cinematographer, an artist worthy of praise. For an entire week you managed to make the news cycle of a country in conflict, where thousands of people were dying, about yourself. What a masterful achievement. Because the reality is that neither the Ukrainian nor the Western Nazis appreciate quality art. As we are speaking, I would like to show you the brilliance of this fellow. Behind them is the trailer for a movie, Sequestra, a brilliant piece of cinema. Oui, it is almost as worthy as the cinematic wonders of Steven Seagal, Russia's greatest actor. Art is the expression of a civilization and its values, a battleground of its own. For too long the West has been allowed to run rampant with its culture of perversion. And,
sir, the projector is malfunctioning.
Shut up, Mobik. Human beings are talking. And in this battlefield the brave artist Gonzalo Lira has arisen. This is a man of brilliance and passion, born in the West but not of it. A man who is a bastion of true patriotic media, the sort of man Holy Russia needs for its great mighty battle of the future. A man for whom the concept of cynical exploitation is unthinkable. A man who is truly a counter against the degenerate perversion of the West. Yes, and I can use many men like that. The Western media is on strings, and I am the scissor king.
How I hate the rainbows. They're bastards and they'll always be bastards.
You hate gays? But why? Some of the nicest, sweetest people I know are lesbians.
Shut up, woman.
I'm sorry, it must have been a cultural misunderstanding. I know that you couldn't possibly mean those words in a derogatory context. After all, Africa isn't
It's very much like that, bitch.
Again, I apologize for any cultural misunderstandings in this conversation. I believe I'm just misinterpreting it due to the latent Western imperialist colonial interpretive framework of whiteness that has much too great a hold in our
Dear God, let's just move on.
And furthermore, has an excellent...
I'm back. I swear, dude. I swear these people are like fucking with me. I swear. They put my drinks and shit like right in front of the screen door of my back door, so I can't even like open the door. I had to like slowly push it and hope I didn't fucking tip everything over and spill all my shit. Ugh, it's awful. Coffee. Coffee. Like, I just don't get it, man. Like, logistically speaking, like, you'd think these people would be like, oh, that's probably not the most pertinent place to put, you know, drinks and shit, and, you know, in front of the fucking door. But they do it every fucking, like, they're just doing it to, like, prank me, you know? Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's nice. All right.
And furthermore, he's an excellent debater. You see, the conflict in the Ukraine is like engaging in a proper Russian-style debate. Wear down the enemy with inanity until they give in and surrender. For if you yourself surrender, then what hope is there?
Okay, so this isn't an actual conversation on any of these matters. This is just kind of like
this
wanted
is
to
me
reach out and
trying
kind
to
of preach.
find out if NATO supporters, such as both of you, are ignorant or evil.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. Okay. Can I ask a quick question?
Go ahead.
Define evil.
The opposite of the good.
Define good.
The opposite of evil.
Okay. I'm not really sure where to go with that.
But
if you quit, if you rage
I don't know
quit
if he's been
because
knocked
you
out a few
can't stand
times and he's
it,
having
if
some
you can't
stroke
stand the
issues or
heat,
what, but
that's
I
your
think
problem.
he's got some problems going on there.
I have
These
my
are
own problems.
internet blood sports rules, Destiny. The guy who rage quits is the guy who loses.
Okay,
The
well,
thing is-
it looks like I'm the loser here. I think stepping into this call made me a loser, so I'm sorry, my dude.
Destiny chickened out. You know, he rage quit like a little bitch.
Well, Destiny has left, and to be honest, I don't blame him. You're not acting civil.
I am acting civil, but I'm calling out liars when I hear lies.
These are lines from Russian propaganda. These are lines from the 5,000.
This is the truth.
Words
This is
treaty
the truth.
that
And
Putin
you
wrote.
claiming that it's Russian propaganda doesn't change the fact that it's true.
But it is Russian propaganda.
So what? The Russians can say that the sky is blue. Is that Russian propaganda? Or are you going to ask me to define what is blue?
Why do you think Russia holds a monopoly on morality?
Nobody holds a
Why
monopoly.
why is it
on
Russia that
morality.
gets to decide what is right and just in this war?
Nobody gets to decide what's right and just, but I do have a judgment.
So your
and I am
opinion is the
being
truth.
No, it's not an opinion.
My
it's a
opinion is they're
statement of
false.
fact. There is a difference between a statement of fact and an opinion. There are no opinions here. These are all factually accurate.
I would disagree, but let's agree to disagree.
You would disagree, okay?
Does that
Fine.
make me ignorant or evil?
It makes you not ignorant.
You smoke a lot, Jesus.
Unfortunately, it's stress.
How expensive is food in Moscow?
Is there food in Moscow?
Is there food in Moscow? Wow.
Because there
Yes,
isn't
there
in
is
Great
food in
Britain. Yeah, because
There
there
is
is in
in-
Russia, but there isn't in the UK. No, because you're just pulling bullshit out of your ass, and you and I both know it. It's a waste of time to argue with such a thing. See,
Of course.
I
So
was
when
told,
I make a point, it's bullshit.
Well, it is bullshit because we're talking about. I asked you a specific question: whether in Russia
Does
there has
that
been
make me
moderate
ignorant or
inflation.
evil?
That makes you evil.
Right.
Look,
It's
you're an
for
evil
me.
guy. I saw your video, your previous videos. Okay.
Which
and,
ones?
You know, I can be civil with a pig, but I know what I'm dealing with. Okay. By the way, Chad is asking, you're gay, right?
Yes. Is
So
that
the collective
going
West
anywhere?
has become the whole point of this exercise is to show people who you really are.
I have absolutely no
Dishonest,
interest.
lying, and willing to harm other people for his ego and for his feeling of belonging to the Western regimes that are committing a genocide here in Ukraine. This war would have been over long ago had it not been for your prime minister, your propaganda that scuttled the deal in April that would have been a ceasefire. That's why the Russians withdrew, because of the negotiations that were going on in Istanbul. And then Boris Johnson flew into Zelenskyy and then told him in no uncertain terms that he could not sign any kind of peace agreement. So everything that has happened since early April until today, all the senseless deaths of all the young men in Ukraine, it's because of people like you who knew the facts and just said, yeah, march on, keep on fighting. Yeah, Ukraine, I stand with Ukraine. And have all the Ukrainian young men, the flower of this country, be killed in a senseless war. You know, you always knew. And you're just an evil fuck who is happy to see the destruction of the Ukrainian nation and the Ukrainian people.
Crocodile tears you shed for Ukraine. And how tragic it is that the Zelenskyy regime is marching soldiers to their death, but not a thought spared for all the Russians who have died. And for what?
Oh, chat, are you guys hearing the air raid siren again?
Is this going to be a problem? Are you going to need to head off?
No. They go off periodically. It's usually missile strikes or strikes of various sorts. Sometimes there are no strikes at all. And sometimes, annoyingly, there is a strike. And then after the end of the strike, then the fucking sirens go off. You know, it scares the poor babushkas to high heaven. That's the thing that bothers me, you know, because whenever the air raid sirens go off in my apartment, all the, you know, elderly ladies, quite frankly, they rush to the basement, terrified, poor things. But, well, because you see of that missile strike that did hit the building next to my own back in early September, yeah, I suppose it's justified. But, I mean, they should really put the kibosh on the air raid sirens because, you know, if you're hit by a missile, you know, I mean, no warning is going to save you. Okay. And so the air raid sirens, I think, are a complete waste of time. And like I said, they scare the elderly people and certainly the kids. And so that's why I'm very against them.
I would disagree the air raid sirens are a waste of time because, yeah, they might go off 5 times and there might only ever be once that the missile actually hits. But that once the missile actually hits, you might be inside, you might be safe, you might be sheltered.
Perhaps I'm a fatalist. I just want to point out the following. Number one, we agree that it's a war of attrition. Number two, we agree that in an attritional war, what matters is annihilating the opposing army. Number three, we agree that Russia has indisputably more men and materiel, irrespective of how they got them. They have more. They have at least 2.5 times the number of the Zelenskyy regime. Therefore, prolonging this war will do nothing except destroy the Ukraine nation and the Ukraine people. Because in an attritional war, even if your casualties are 1-to-1, the numbers ultimately win, right? So prolonging this conflict only serves to destroy the Ukrainian nation and people, which is what you want. I mean, we've established that.
I'm pro-Ukrainian, so no.
No, you're not, because if you were pro-Ukrainian, you'd be begging for a ceasefire and a negotiated settlement, a la Minsk II, but that ship has sailed. You're all in favor of continuing this war because you're a NATO supporter.
You're pushing this to Russia having
you
a monopoly
know the truth.
On morality.
You know the truth,
right?
And so
again, these are crocodile tears that you're shedding for Ukraine.
I live here, you imbecile. I've been living here since off and on. I've been coming here since 2012, living here with an address here and everything since 2016. So tell me about crocodile tears? Fuck off. I live here. These people, I see them all the time. They're friends, they're neighbors, they're people I know.
And
I see their suffering. I see their suffering, and I know that it's because of NATO supporters like yourself who are encouraging this pointless war that cannot be won by the Zelenskyy regime and is throwing away the flower of Ukraine youth and destroying the Ukraine nation. It's because of people like you, NATO supporters like you, who know the truth. You know that this is only going to end with the annihilation of the Ukraine nation, and you are egging them on pointlessly, needlessly, knowing the truth. And that makes you evil. Period.
Because I'm an evil warmonger. Therefore
yes,
war gives me a hard on.
Yes, because you're a small failure of a man who never accomplished anything in his life except his little giggling. And so you get a hard on by being on the side of the bullies,
by being on the side of the despicable bullying tactics of NATO and that whole cabal, and you love it. That's the fact about you. You're a nihilist, and you're always going to be on the side of the bully, because ultimately your soul is black. And it's a real pleasure to be able to tell you this to your face. Of course, you don't have the balls to show your face. You don't have the balls, except anything, to sit in a small little room in the United Kingdom, far away from the conflict, whereas I am here in a place that I actually care about, and I'm seeing this pointless destruction.
You care about Ukraine.
For the ego of people like you.
You care about Ukraine.
Yes.
So, do you want to join me in singing the Ukrainian national anthem then?
Chat, I'm going to leave it as a democratic vote. Chat, are we done here, or should I continue with this fool?
You'd respect me more for agreeing with you.
Well,
that some death is worth it.
I beg your pardon?
You agree that some death is worth it then?
No, I don't agree with that at all.
You look at Russia.
No, you're lying about what I said. I never said that any. I think that it's despicable.
You look at the mass extermination.
The mass extermination. There hasn't been any mass extermination. That's a lie. There has been indiscriminate shelling of Ukrainian people by the Zelenskyy regime. That's an undisputed fact. They have dropped pedal mines all over Donetsk, where children can be killed and people maimed permanently because of these pedal mines that serve no useful military application other than to terrorize civilians. No, what you're saying there is just a bunch of bullshit, and you and I both know it. That's the fact. And I'm going to be ending this conversation because we've gone on for an hour and 45 minutes. And further conversation with you, I think we pretty much agree is a waste of both of our time. But I'm just going to say, I think I've made it very clear, but just to reiterate, I think that you're a piece of shit. I think you're a warmongering bastard who enjoys the suffering of the Ukraine nation and the Ukraine people.
I'm Scottish. Honey, I'm Scottish.
Yeah, and
level up those insults, please. Don't insult me by coming at me with this weak sauce.
Okay. Now I'm going to bid you goodbye.
Okay.
You die painfully, I hope. Okay, so that was the shit show. I hope you all enjoyed it. Yeah, I really, really despise both those guys.
Next up, please welcome the Dark Lord himself, Lord of the Dread ILK, the Supreme Sigma Mal, Vox Day.
How did Ted Sparchet?
Vox Day?
Never mind.
Unlike Western men, we are a bunch of chat Sigma Males.
See, this is what's funny. These people are going, have you seen Joe's kicks, man? Rogan would annihilate Vox. We're going to get to that, okay? Just remember that you said that. Remember what you're saying.
Let this board represent the entire might of Girly West.
Unlike Joe, I am an elite athlete. Okay? I mean, I don't know if you understand, but I'm the size of an NFL cornerback, and I have safety speed. NFL safety speed. That's not something that normal people can deal with.
Demonstrate.
So I'm going to end it. This is why, as I have repeatedly warned people, this is why you don't fuck with someone that other people call the Supreme Dark Lord.
Exactly. See how superior we are.
Don't worry, when I'm Prime Minister of Britain, I'll create educational standards that will prevent that from happening, amongst other things. We'll call it Corbyn's 5-year plan.
We both know that will never happen.
Then why'd you invite me here?
Because it is funny.